Hello. Another late-night meeting in Brussels and yet another delay to Brexit. For the second time in as many weeks, we've come within days of leaving the EU with no deal. The departure deadline is now October the 31st. But could a Halloween Brexit prove to be a nightmare come true for the Prime Minister? And will Theresa May even be in office by then? Let's discuss where we are with our political editor Mark Davenport and Tim Durrant from the Institute for Government, who joins us from London. Tim, first of all, would you say last night was a success for Theresa May?
I mean, the Prime Minister set out to get another extension of the Article 50 period, and she secured that. There was some concern that other member states might not be happy with that. She was originally hoping for extension to the end of June, and it's been pushed to the end of October, so it wasn't exactly what she wanted, but it has avoided the UK leaving with no deal on Friday, which she was clear she didn't want.
The option of an early Brexit remains on the table if the Prime Minister gets her deal across the table. How likely do you think that is?
I think that's still quite unlikely. The reservations that people have about the deal won't have gone away. It's just the timing that's changed. So if you're opposed to the backstop is still the same. If you're worried about the vagueness of where the future relationship is heading, that vagueness is still there. So the chances of a sudden shift in numbers, I think, are remote.
And I suppose you could say she had a pretty good day today, insofar as there were no ministerial resignations.
Absolutely. It's been a big issue of late. She got through another day in the Commons, and the Commons is now on its Easter recess, so there's sort of 10 days of breathing space for some of the heat to go out of Westminster a little bit.
Just want to bring Mark Davenport in here and talk about the DUP, which of course continues to be central to what's happening in Westminster. Relations between the Tories and the DUP clearly under an awful lot of pressure at the moment. For evidence of that, we just need to look at the comments of Antoinette Sandbach in the House of Commons. She asked a question. She's a Conservative MP, a supporter of Theresa May, and she made it very clear she's no fan of the DUP at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. There were some fairly tough exchanges between the DUP and the Conservatives in the chamber of the Commons today. Antoinette Sandbach said that the Prime Minister should conduct a value for money assessment of the confidence and supply arrangement because she claimed that the DUP was sapping confidence in the UK and was failing to supply any votes. And then we also saw an exchange between Sammy Wilson and Theresa May where he essentially challenged Theresa May to set out some issue on which she had not backed down to the EU, and she said, well, look, I didn't back down over in Northern Ireland customs territory and I didn't give the EU as much money as they were looking for. So, you know, open rows and disagreements between these two partners in the confidence and supply arrangement, and you have to wonder, can it continue after it's due to be reviewed this summer?
And, well, that's an interesting point because, of course, Nigel Dodds, the party's leader at Westminster, was hinting pretty strongly that the Tories shouldn't take it for granted at this stage.
Yes, I mean, initially it was posited as a 2-year arrangement during which, of course, the DUP negotiated that £1 billion. I'm told from Stormont sources that the £1 billion has now arrived at the Northern Ireland end. It might not have all been spent, but it has apparently been sort of transferred over. Built into that deal is the notion that after a parliamentary session it will be reviewed, and we were expecting this parliamentary session to last for 2 years to come to a close at the end of the summer. And Nigel Dodds made a point in the Commons of saying, look, there are rumours that the government might seek to stretch this parliamentary session, and we are extremely unhappy about that. The significance of it is that the DUP want a fresh negotiation, they want to negotiate a new period of a confidence and supply arrangement, and they want a fresh Queen's speech, which would effectively be a vote of confidence in the government. And all of that, they're effectively warning Theresa May is not to be taken for granted.
Tim, what's your reading of the nature of that relationship between the government and the DUP at the moment? I mean, just how strained is it and what future might there be for it?
It clearly is very strained. One of the big concerns that the DUP have, and Arlene Foster was in Brussels today talking to Michel Barnier, the EU's chief negotiator, about this, is the backstop in the withdrawal agreement. They are not a fan of it. But the Prime Minister has been clear that the withdrawal agreement is not going to change. The EU have said that as well. So this fundamental issue at the heart of the Brexit debate is dividing the Prime Minister and her government from the DUP.
In the meantime, of course, we know that the parties are preparing for local and European elections. It is also the case we could be looking at another campaign, and that is a Tory leadership campaign. Are the hopefuls openly jockeying for position at this stage? Absolutely.
I mean, there are lots of sort of, wide-ranging interviews in big weekend newspapers amongst different cabinet members. You've got, Sajid Javid, the Home Secretary, Matt Hancock, Health Secretary, Jeremy Hunt in the Foreign Office, various other sort of, Brexit-supporting ministers or former ministers who are all kind of jockeying for position, trying to raise their profile ahead of what people would expect to be a leadership campaign in the next few months.
Do you think that she can seriously expect to be Prime Minister come the end of October, or does she know inevitably that she's probably going to be outmaneuvered in the next couple of months?
I think it's very difficult to see the exact process, because you'll remember at the end of last year there was a confidence challenge to the Prime Minister from the ERG, the sort of hardline Brexiteers in the Conservative Party, and that was defeated, and they can't do that again for 12 months, so until December this year. But the Prime Minister has also said she will step down if her withdrawal agreement is approved, and her hope is obviously that happens in the next few months. So I think it's probable, but how we actually get there is not clear at this point.